Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you guys my labor and delivery story. I'm going to start off with Wednesday the 19th, which was my doctor's appointment before my labor. And in that doctor's appointment they were going to check for a dilation. He basically told me that he was going to check me, and based on if I was dilated or not, we were going to talk about our next steps. So he went ahead and he checked me, and of course I was close. Being a first-time mom, you know, babies usually come after their due date, so I kind of expected it. And I think he did too, because I had gestational diabetes, which I was diagnosed around 30-something weeks. He said that he wanted to induce me. He wanted me to have the baby before my due date. And that day was Wednesday, so he wanted to induce me over the weekend. And he told me that he knew that my diabetes was under control. I was on a diet plan, and it was controlled that way. I didn't have to take medication. Like, everything was fine. Like, my sugar levels were always really good. So he said he wasn't really worried, but just to be on the safe side, he wanted to go ahead and just induce me. I felt like he didn't really give me an option. Like, he was telling me, like, I need you to have the baby before your due date. So my due date was on the 25th, and that was the 19th. He told me that he was gonna schedule the induction. He told me that he didn't know what day. He said either Friday or Saturday. He said he would give me a call. So basically I went home and I started preparing my things. So yeah, I was just getting everything ready, and then we went to bed. The next morning I got a call. She basically told me 8 a.m. and she told me to call the hospital at 7 in the morning to make sure that they actually had a bed for me, just because, you know, spontaneous labors can happen and they might not have room for me. They don't know what's gonna happen. So I had a call an hour before just to make sure that they did have space for me. I think I ended up going to bed like at 3 in the morning, and then I woke up at 6:30 and hopped in the shower at 7. I called and they told me that I was okay to come in. She basically told me to shower and get a good breakfast, which I had already showered, so I just got my breakfast in. We actually ended up going to McDonald's. Having gestational diabetes, I wasn't supposed to be eating McDonald's, but I was like, it's my last day, like, being pregnant, like. So we went to McDonald's right before heading to the hospital. We were running late to the hospital, and we ended up getting there around like 8:30ish. By the time I got up there, I feel like it was like around 9, and they took me into my room right away. The nurse gave me my gown to change into, and then I got into bed, and she hooked me up to like the monitors that that monitor your baby's heartbeat and your contractions. So yeah, she basically just hooked me up. I think she gave me my IV as well. She told me that she was gonna come back in a little bit to check me, but so I got there like around 9, and around 10:30, it was at 10:32, she checked me to see how dilated I was. And so basically there was like a student nurse, or like a new nurse, I don't know what it was, and she checked me first, and she was like, oh, she's dilated at a 5, and we're just like, oh my god, what the heck, because I had just got in there and I wasn't in labor. I was there to get induced. So it was me, my mom, and my boyfriend in the room, and we're like so surprised. Wait, what's going on? Like, and the other nurse that was with her was like, are you sure? She's like, let me check. So she checks, and she's like, oh, no, she's like half a centimeter dilated. So we're like, okay, like, you know, that's more like it. So she basically like, while she was in there, she just started to, like, I don't know what she was doing. I think she was trying to open me up with since I was half a centimeter dilated, she was opening me up with her fingers. It hurts so bad. Like, I felt like she was in there for such a long time. I legit was about to cry and tell her to stop because it hurt so bad. Like, it just it was like the worst pain that I've ever felt, honestly. So right after she finished doing that, she had opened me up to 1 centimeter. So I was 1 centimeter, 60% effaced, and -2 station. So yeah, after that, like, they just left me for a little bit, and then they came in like a little bit after. I'm not sure exactly how much after she came in, and she was like, you're getting a lot of contractions, but it doesn't seem like they're doing anything for you, so I think you should go ahead and walk to see if, you know, that'll help, if that will make a difference. So I was like, okay, like, sure. So me and my mom went, and I started walking, and we just did like 1 lap around the like the floor, and she came up to me and she was like, oh, I'm gonna need you to go back into your room. They want to stop your contractions. I went back into my room, and then she came in and explained to me. So she told me that I was having contractions every 1 to 2 minutes, and I felt like period cramps, but like mild period cramps. They didn't hurt. So she's like, somebody with these contractions would be like screaming in pain, crying in pain, and you're so calm. So they're not doing anything for you. Like, you're getting the contractions, but they're not doing anything. They're not dilating you. So like, she basically explained that since I was getting the contractions super close together, they couldn't give me another medication to basically dilate me, because that would mean more contractions, and then that could like affect the baby's heart rate, because the contractions would be coming like super quick. So she basically told me, like, we need to stop your contractions because those contractions aren't doing anything for you. And then once, you know, we stop the contractions, we'll start with like the medication. So yeah, she gave me the medication through the IV, and then she came back in a few minutes later, and she was like, oh, okay, cool, it's working. Like, it started working basically right away. So they left me like that for a few minutes, and then they came back in, and they were like, okay, we're gonna start you on Cervidil. So Cervidil, they told me that for some people it starts working 4 to 6 hours, but that they were just gonna wait the full 12 hours to check me. So the 12 hours was gonna be 1:45 a.m. I was feeling fine. It was just hurting. I feel like it wasn't hurting that bad, but it was just hurting enough, I guess. I got scared, like, is it gonna just start, you know, is it just gonna start getting worse from here? Like, I just got so scared. I called the nurse, and I was like, hey, can I get my epidural? And they're like, oh yeah, like, of course. They're like, we'll be right in there. I hear a lot of people say that they take forever to come in with epidural, and for me, I felt like they came in right away. Like, I feel like everything was happening so quick that my pain like kind of went away, and I was just like overthinking it, like, oh my god, am I getting it too soon? Like, maybe I shouldn't have gotten it right now, because like they came in super quick. I feel like 10 minutes later and they were already in there, and they were already like prepping me for it, and I was just like having second thoughts. Like, I was second guessing myself, like, oh my gosh, maybe I should have waited, like, this is way too soon, like, I don't know. But it was 9:30 when I basically ended up getting it, when they like prepped me and everything. So 9:30 I got my epidural, and it started working right away. Like, I felt so numb. I could still move my legs, but I didn't feel anything. Basically, it felt so good. Like, I honestly, the epidural was like the best thing ever, like the best decision ever, and I don't think I got it way too soon, honestly. I feel like I should have gotten it like way before that. My parents ended up leaving, so me and my boyfriend decided to go to sleep, because they were gonna come in at 2 in the morning to check my Epidural. At 2 a.m. they came in and they checked me, and I was 3 centimeters dilated, which I was happy about because I have made progress. So they told me that they would come in 2 hours later and they would check me again. So at 4 a.m. oh no, they told me that they were gonna come in at 5 to check me, and they came in at 4 a.m. so they came in an hour earlier. And it was actually the doctor that came in, not the nurses. Well, it was the doctor, my doctor and the nurse. And he checked me and he said I was 5 centimeters dilated, and that my water was still intact basically. So he told me that he was gonna break my water. So he basically just broke my water. He did it really quickly because then they called him that like somebody else was like in labor or something. So he just broke my water and then he left. And so I remember I called my mom. I was like, Mom, like, they broke my water and I'm already 5 centimeters dilated. And she was like, okay, like, you know, things are gonna progress super quickly from now, so we'll be there in a little bit. So basically we lived like 10 minutes away from the hospital, but yeah, she said that they were gonna start heading over here. And then I think they got there like an hour later, around 5 in the morning. And then at like 5 in the morning when they got there, I just started to shake uncontrollably. Like I could not control it. I was just shaking so bad, and I didn't know why. Like my mom was like, Vanessa, calm down, like you're fine, like everything's good, like calm down. And I was like, I'm calm, like I'm honestly calm. I don't know why I'm shaking. Like, and then like since my mom kept telling me that it was me, like it was the nerves, I was like, okay, like I need to calm down. So I was like breathing in and out, like trying to like calm myself down. And I like couldn't calm myself down. Like I was just shaking, like I couldn't control it. And so like the nurse came in and I asked her, I'm like, hey, like I'm shaking, like, you know, why am I shaking? And she's like, oh, usually like that epidural makes you shake. But I had gotten that epidural at 9:30 and it was 5 in the morning, so it was like way after I had gotten an epidural. But people were telling me, the nurses were telling me that was because of that epidural. So I was like, okay. Like I asked a few times to like different nurses and they were like, yeah, it's probably just the epidural. But I honestly, like, I hated it. Like I legit could not stop shaking and it was making me tired. Oh, and another thing that I haven't mentioned, and I probably should mention, I have an autoimmune disease which creates muscle weakness, and I'm not gonna go like into depth about it, but just so you guys know, the nurse had came in and she told me that, I think we had asked her a question and she basically told me that they were gonna use the vacuum to assist me in the delivery. And the reason being was because of my autoimmune disease. Since I have muscle weakness, they didn't really want me to like push and get tired, because I would have other complications. Like they were gonna let my body push the baby out on its own. They didn't want me pushing at all, and that they were gonna use the vacuum to get the baby out. It did scare me, but I mean, we had to do what we had to do. So now around 7 in the morning, the nurse came in and she's like, oh, your contractions are not showing up on the monitor anymore. So she came and she checked the thing that she had on my stomach, and she's like, oh, like she was trying to fix it and it wasn't like working. So she's like, I'm gonna have to insert it vaginally because the one on your stomach isn't working. And I was like, okay, like that's fine. And she went in there like just to check me first, and like as soon as she like put her hand in there, she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, you're 10 centimeters already. She's like, you're ready to start pushing. So she was like, I'm gonna call the doctor and start getting everything ready. At this point I started feeling really hot, and so I let the nurse know, and she's like, okay, I'll check your temperature. I had a fever of 103.7, and she started, like, she took my socks off, she took the blanket off, and she started putting like wet cloths on my head, and like on my chest, and she was like putting ice like under my armpits and like by my legs. Oh, and when she had checked me, which was something that she didn't tell me, was that the baby had meconium, which basically means the baby had pooped inside of me, which I didn't research what could happen, but I know that's not a good thing. Like if they inhale it, it could be very, very bad, or if they eat it, it could be bad. So they were kind of freaking out because I had a fever and the baby had a meconium, and I think that was the reason why I got the fever, and that was the reason why I was shaking as well. They were like rushing to get the doctor, and they were already thinking about getting a different doctor to come in because my doctor was not answering. They put an oxygen mask on me, and everybody was like running around trying to get me ready. And finally when the doctor came in, it was like a few minutes before 8 a.m. he came, and they told me that I was gonna start pushing. Well, the nurse actually ended up asking him if I can push because they had told me that they didn't want me pushing. They let me push, but honestly, like, I was so tired. Like, I could not hold the push for the 10 seconds that they tell you to hold it. I was like having such a hard time. I think I pushed 3 times, and then the doctor's like we're gonna have to use the vacuum, okay? So he used the vacuum and like another 3 pushes, and my baby was born. She was born at 8:07 in the morning. She was 6 pounds 6 ounces and 20.5 inches long. And when she came out, they put her on my chest. They were sucking all the things out of her nose and out of her mouth. They didn't want her to inhale or eat the meconium. They took her and like they basically measured her and weighed her, and took her footprints and like, you know, put the little hat on and swaddled her, and they brought her to me. And because they were gonna take her to the NICU, so they brought her to me one last time, and I gave her a little kiss on the head. She was wearing her hat, so I like kissed her hat, but I gave her a little kiss, and then they took her away. So they took her to the NICU. They wanted, because of the meconium, they wanted to put her on antibiotics. Being a new mom is so crazy. Like, I legit cannot imagine my life without her anymore. Like, I'm so happy to have her. So guys, this is my baby, Sophia. She was born on the 22nd of September. Can you look at the camera?